I watch y'all coming here for years, cause you shot somebody. Now your life is shot. You gonna pick that phone up one day, and that girl gonna be done dumped you and raise your child with another man. Or maybe your mama or your grandmama dies. Cause ain't nothing you can do about it. You got 15 to 20 years, state or fed time. Real talk. Don't lose your head, use your head, man. Gun crime, max time.
We Tennesseans all have a choice to make in our fight against COVID-19.
I choose to enjoy live music.
I choose to cheer on my team.
I choose to go out.
I choose to stay healthy.
I choose to celebrate with my family.
The choice is simple. Choose to live your life and choose to live responsibly. Face it, masks fight COVID-19.
It's not about challenging times
or new normals.
It's about staying true to what matters most.
And we're more committed than ever to your health. Your safety has always been our top priority.
Times may have changed,
but they haven't changed who we are.
We're here for you every single day.
This pandemic has hit us hard, but Tennesseans don't stay down for long. We're known for our resilience, and we refuse to back down from a challenge. This challenge is no different. You might be out of work, but there's an opportunity waiting for you. We need you to roll up your sleeves and join our workforce. Right now, thousands of jobs are ready to be filled. Find them at jobsfortn.gov. Let's get to work, Tennessee.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour. It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
Really good try.
There aren't any cops around. I didn't think there were any cops around.
I drink and drive all the time.
Sir, you've been in a serious crash. I need you to hang on, okay? Rub your hands for me. You all right now? Now.
And welcome. We are live and in full effect. Welcome to Talk Sports Live on a Wednesday, August the 4th, 2021 edition of the show. Definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in, watching, listening, wherever you may be, however you may be checking me out on today. Here live in the Talkback Live Network studios. And we got a loaded show for you on this afternoon or morning, afternoon deal today. Got a special guest joining me at 11:20. You see it in the description there, but in case you don't know, it's a guy that hadn't joined me in a while, man. Glad to get back in the groove with him. Good friend of mine, friend of the show, friend of the network, man, Isaac Simpson. He covers the Memphis Grizzlies for hoopball.com, and he's also covers the Memphis Tigers for Rivals, aka TigerSportsReport.com as well. So looking forward to talking to him at around 11:20. So that's in about 15 minutes or so. But before then, man, we're going to get into some stuff here at the top of the show and get into some things, as I said, with Isaac when he joins us in a few minutes. The number to call, 901-213-6020. Say again, I got about 15 minutes till my guest joins me in a few. But going to dive right in, man, right into what we got for you today. So, big things popping, all sorts of things going on. NFL training camp is on and popping. You got NBA free agency is on and popping as well. We're heading toward the back end of that. A lot of the big moves have happened that are, I believe, that are going to happen at this point, but you never know with each passing day. You got all sorts of other things going on. NBA Summer League tipped off yesterday with the Memphis Grizzlies with the beatdown of one of the Utah Jazz's so-called Summer League teams the other day. Definitely get Isaac's thoughts on that when he comes on as well. But first, I want to talk about something that's happened this morning. Penny Hardaway spoke to the media this morning and had some interesting things to say the least. And, you know, Memphis Tigers basketball has kind of been, I don't know if I want to say the back burner. I don't know if that's a fair way to put it, but it's not been the focus of a lot of things lately. I mean, of course, you're following the Jalen Duren situation, which is a big deal. So a lot of people are following that. But other than that, there's been a lot of other things going on that people are following. But with Penny talking, there's some big stuff going on when it comes to the Tigers. Not only a few weeks ago, as we talked about here on the show, Penny Hardaway hiring Larry Brown on the staff was a pretty big addition. Then you look at the roster way before then with adding the Lawson brothers that are remaining, Jonathan and Chandler, both coming to Memphis, and then everybody else that he's added to the roster. Now there are reports, and I don't believe I got to talk about it on this show, that this man right here, or if you may not recognize him in the suit, this man right here, Rasheed Wallace, former NBA great player as well, all of that stuff going on, he is being rumored to be a new addition to the coaching staff for the Memphis Tigers basketball team. So you add that on top of Larry Brown and Cody Toppert, who's already there. Every single one of these guys has NBA experience, extensive NBA experience in one way or another. And it just takes everything that Penny is trying to do to a whole nother level. Now, they asked Penny about it, and the whole reason I'm bringing it up right now, they asked Penny Hardaway about it this morning for the first time, and he did confirm that he has reached out to Rasheed Wallace, and, he basically kind of left it at that he's reached out and that he is a candidate for the remaining assistant coaching job, that he's one of the candidates that he's considering. Now, if you look at the rumor mill, a lot of people feel like it's a little further along than some give it credit for. Even before anybody reported on it, I saw a post, I believe it was one of the Tigers groups, that was basically saying, hey, Rasheed Wallace is the new assistant coach. And this is before any rumors were out there or anything. So when something that random pops up, you would have to imagine that there was some smoke to that there's a fire to that little bit of smoke. And turns out there was. As a couple of days later, here comes the verified reports and rumors. So that's one thing that made news in the Penny Hardaway presser. Now, and I'm going to get to some of this other stuff you see here in a minute, but let me see if I can put this on a bigger screen here. And that's from Stephen Johnson with the, believe the Daily Memphis. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that, but great reporter there, covers the Memphis Tigers. That's him reporting from the presser with Penny Hardaway that he did confirm that he was in touch with Rasheed Wallace. Also, bit of interesting news if you're a Memphis Tiger fan. Penny Hardaway says that Tyler Harris and Jonathan Lawson will be in the mix for the point guard position battle, along with Alex Lomax. So to me, that's an interesting development. I think some people might have even forgotten with everything else that's happened that Tyler Harris is back on the team and that he's, being considered as one of the guys competing for the starting point guard spot, along with Alex Lomax, who's still there, and everything else that they're trying to do. So I thought that was an interesting bit of news from Penny as well. Also, the biggest thing, and the thing that I believe most people are concerned about, is Jalen Duren, the big 6'10" Philadelphia native. They asked him about his thoughts because Jalen Duren is going to commit this Friday. He made it official on social media. He's got it down to his final 5, a couple of them including professional exploits with, I believe it's the NBL and the NBA G League are 2 options. Now, the G League, I think they're offering Duren $1 million, if not more, to play in the G League. So he can make a lot of money right away. Or he can go to college and possibly play for Memphis. I believe Kentucky's in that as well, in that final few. But when they asked Penny about Jalen Duren, and of course he can't talk about these guys by name, but here's what, according to Cassie Carlson, a local reporter, Penny Hardaway said with a big smile, according to her, he's hopeful to get a big commitment on Friday, which just so happens to be the same day that Jalen Duren is making his announcement of where he's going to go. So several big developments, I think, from the press conference. Now, he didn't really say anything. It's nothing official when it comes to a lot of these things that I'm bringing up here. But just the fact that he's addressing them in the way he's addressed them, I think is pretty interesting, especially considering the fact why would you have a big smile on your face if you don't believe you have a good chance? Now, again, I guess you could say, why would he not believe he doesn't have a good chance? He's in the final 5. He spent a lot of time recruiting this kid, and he has. It's clearly a big priority, that being Jalen Duren. And again, I'm going to get to some of the specifics a little bit more with Isaac when he joins me in a few minutes. But if you don't know, Jalen Duren, again, 6'10", big man out of Philadelphia, is considered one of the biggest prospects to come out of high school in a while. And when you say a big man, I'm not just saying big. A lot of people say big man. It's like, oh, is he really that big? He might be tall, but he's slim, he's skinny. No, that's not this kid. And I believe I have something right here that'll show you what I'm talking about. But he's not just big, but he's solid as well. As you can see him right there. I believe that's the Montverde uniform that he's wearing. And you see how massive of a man Jalen Duren is. I mean, it looks like an NBA player already. You can see why Penny is so anxious to get a guy like this. And think about it, man. When you see the focus that Penny has on big man, first when you go and get James Wiseman a few years ago, who was extremely highly regarded, rightfully so, right? But you see, Penny has a focus on wanting to get a good, solid big man down low, because after that, you go after Musa Cisse. You get him, the big 7-footer, a guy that can make a difference, at least block shots down low. Now, Musa wasn't nearly the prospect of Duren or James Wiseman, but still a big man. And even this year, if you don't get Duren, you got another big man that they have already on the roster who's about 7 feet tall as well, that was recently added. And then you add another one. And then all of this in addition to Malcolm Dandridge, who's 6'10" himself. So one thing about Penny, he's clearly proven that he doesn't mind adding some size to the roster. I'm going to look here, some of the comments, several of y'all coming in. Definitely appreciate all of you that are continuing to come in. And if you're in right now, go ahead and leave a comment. Say what's up to me. And more importantly, hit that like button if you're watching and enjoy what we're doing here on Talkback Live Network. Go and hit that like button, hit that share button, retweet if you're on Twitter, and share if you're on YouTube watching as well. Got my man Jet Lucas here, and he says, I was just reading someone's NCAA top 30 the other day. He said they mentioned Tyler Harris, and I must admit, I had totally forgotten. Glad he's back, though. And me too. Honestly, and I cover and follow this stuff quite a bit, but with all the news that's happened since Tyler transferred back to Memphis, it was just one of those things that wasn't on even at the forefront of my mind, but he is back in the Tigers uniform this year. So that's something that will be interesting to see with the guard rotation, and especially with guys like Boogie Ellis leaving last year. You have an opening at that spot. And again, if you didn't hear me a few minutes ago, Penny did say that the point guard competition is going to come down to Alex Lomax and Tyler Harris for that starting point guard spot. So, and Jonathan Lawson. So, it's going to be very interesting to see that competition when the time comes. But again, man, going to be very interesting. Several interesting notes. And one thing, too, I must bring up, Rasheed Wallace being looked at as an addition to the staff, which you see already has Penny Hardaway and Larry Brown. Now, remember this, and many of you that are sports fans already know, Larry Brown won a championship and coached Larry Brown in Detroit, along with Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton and Ben Wallace and that whole core, and Tayshaun Prince, who is ironically working for the Grizzlies now in the front office. But Larry Brown coached them to a title and was one of the best teams year in and year out in the Eastern Conference, consistently going to the Eastern Conference Finals. So you got to believe that had something to do with Rasheed Wallace getting a recommendation. Now, some people wonder, well, what can Rasheed Wallace add? Because, what's his coaching experience? Well, you see right there, he was assistant coach for a year with the Detroit Pistons, but also he was the head coach of a high school in North Carolina. So he has been coaching. Now, not at the college level, but he did it as an assistant coach at the NBA level. So that's got to, even if it's just for a year, that's got to count for something. And then, again, at a high school in North Carolina, where Penny Hardaway, that was the highest level of experience he had prior to getting the Memphis job, was high school at East High School, at a high level, mind you, but still, something to think about as well. So, look, I'm going to tell you this, and this just comes down to me. I don't care if Rasheed Wallace had any coaching experience or not. If you're able, as a college, as a university, to get a guy like Rasheed Wallace on your coaching staff, then why would it matter? Why would you sit there and wonder, well, I don't know about his coaching experience? Look, as long as he played in this league, for a long, long time at a high level, multiple-time All-Star, NBA champion. I'm not saying every one of these guys can be a head coach, but if you're at a university, you got a chance to get this guy as an assistant, not your head coach, an assistant coach, you do it. And not only that, you think about his reported connections to Jalen Duren, both from Philadelphia, both big men. So those are things to think about. Going to the phone lines right now.
Call from
Vincent.
And we got Vincent. And Vincent, man, is going to have to be kind of quick because I got my guest coming up in about 2 minutes. But we'll get you in, man. Welcome to the show.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that tidbit. I just wanted to say, what date is the Jalen Duren announcement supposed to come? Because I think we definitely need somebody like him, but I'm just concerned about the Imani Bates thing. If that may not mess up the camaraderie on the team with the returning players, you know, you got another wing that you're going to stick in there. I'm just wondering, is there going to be enough basketballs? You know what I mean?
Oh, I get
I'm
that. And
concerned about that.
One thing about it, we've talked about this before, Vincent, and not to rush you off, but that's a great point, because one thing we know, Penny doesn't seem to care about that. He's just going to keep adding guys and then figure it out later. But now, as far as
I get that, but I'm just looking at what you got. You got first year we have junior, senior leadership on the team.
Yeah, you're right.
And returning players, and then you bring in an all-star who's going to command the attention of the ball. It's going to be something that we got to look at. And then you got these NIL items where people are making money based upon who gets the brand, who gets the endorsements, and all of that. You know, things can kind of change a little bit. You got to be careful about how we maneuver this ship. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. And Vincent, man, I know you always bring up good points. If you can call a little later, it'd be much appreciated. But I got to get my
okay. Well, listen, I'm gonna get up since I'm second class citizen this morning. I appreciate it. I'll call you back. I'll call you back in 3 months, man. I tell you. Okay.
Oh Lord.
I hang up and listen.
All
God
right,
bless. Have a good day. Bye bye.
All right, that's Vincent, man. We'll get him in. Shout out to Jet that said, Vincent, quick. I like to see that, and with the laughing face. Well, he did it, man. He was able to do it. You know, shout out to Vincent doing his thing. But anyway, man, should have Isaac joining us in just a minute, and we're going to talk about more of these things. I'm actually going to start off with Isaac with the Grizzlies, and I believe that's him coming right now. And we can get right into this conversation.
Call from
Isaac Simpson.
There he is. All right, and joining us now is the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Isaac Simpson, the man that is with hoopball.com, covering the Memphis Grizzlies. Also with TigerSportsReport.com, as y'all well know, as well, covering the Memphis Tigers and all of those things. Plus, unfortunately, a Dallas Cowboys fan. We're probably going to make sure we don't get to that today. But no, Isaac, welcome to the show, brother.
Man, what's going on, Josh?
Man, so much, so much stuff going on, and I'm glad about it, man. Usually, you hit the summer months, you have like a huge drought, right, and things to talk about in sports. But it almost seems like the NBA getting pushed back as far as it did. It, you know, it's kind of filling up the gaps here. And right now, we're in August and just about ready for the NFL to start up.
Yeah, man, I like that, man. I kind of hate that the NBA is going back to the regular schedule, because I kind of like that going late into the summer, right after the finals end, you got the NBA draft, right into free agency. I like that, and it kind of gives you sports, like you said, year round. And I kind of hate that they're going back to the regular schedule, but I mean, and I think it makes more sense also because they don't have to compete against college football in the NFL when you start in December, man. But they're going back to October, so I mean, we just got to deal with it. But I would have rather for them to have stayed with this same schedule.
Yeah, I felt the same way, man. I was thinking about that a few days ago, but it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But speaking of the NBA, man, we're going to start off with this because it's been a lot of conversation about the Grizzlies ever since they made their first move of the summer, right? Trading Jonas Valanciunas, away to get that 10th pick in the draft, and then who they drafted, even caused even more of a stir in conversation. Still looking at Twitter, people debating left and right on that. And I get it, right? Because even myself, with the pick, and for those that may not know, if you're living under a rock, Zaire Williams was the pick at 10. And I think most people were stunned to hear that name. I know I was. You look at the mock drafts and everything, but it almost came to a certain point that I almost feel like nobody really knew anything with this draft at the end of the day, with the way things ended up turning out. But what was your initial reaction to hearing Zaire being the number 10 pick in the draft?
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, you see the Grizzlies go out and make this move, and I mean, it's a big move. I mean, you have Jonas Valanciunas, who was a fan favorite. A lot of people think was the best player on the team offensively, and kind of carried this team at times when other guys was struggling. I don't think that he would have been a free agent at the end of this coming season, and I don't think they would have brought him back. But I also didn't expect him to get moved this summer. So when they go out and make that move, they move up from 51 to 40 in the second round, of course, 17 to 10 in the first round. I mean, you're thinking that they're probably trying to move up, because there was even talk that they were trying to move up higher, even as high as number 3 to possibly take Evan Mobley there. You're thinking they're thinking big to go up and try to get some of these top prospects. And the board played out perfectly that night. I mean, you sitting there, the speculation had been Bouknight or Moody would be two guys they'd be really looking at. Nobody really expected Bouknight to be there. Moody might have not even been there going into the draft. And you got both of those guys sitting right there. And watching it, everybody's excited. Like they're going to, when I think Orlando took Wagner at 8, you're like, they're going to have the choice of either one of them is going to be on the board guaranteed. So you're thinking for sure. And then Sacramento takes Davion Mitchell, number 9. You're like, man, they got a choice at both of these guys. And it comes up, man, Shams and Woj have these tweets out before it actually happened. And I was actually about to jump on a live draft show that we had at Hoop Ball.
Yeah, I saw
that. I look at this tweet. I look at this tweet. I'm like the Grizzlies are keying in on Zaire Williams. And I was like, man, it just blew my mind. Like, I couldn't believe it, especially with Moody and Bouknight on the board. I thought for sure they'd go after one of those guys. So it was surprising, man. And in the moment, man, I was upset with the pick. I've kind of talked myself into it a little bit more since then. I mean, you look at the press conference, he actually definitely won the press conference. I mean, you could
no doubt.
See, Stanford kid, got great parents. Both parents in the military. His mother was in the Air Force, his father in the Marines. You could tell had a good upbringing, and he seems like he genuinely wants to be here. And from a kid from L.A., that's not always the case coming to a small market like Memphis. And he seems to be excited to be here and to be a part of his organization, and already talking about the guys fitting in next to Ja, et cetera. But I think the question with him is, outside of being a good dude and winning the press conference, the production on the floor. I mean, everyone knows how great of a high school player he was, but last year at Stanford, the production just wasn't there. I mean, you just look at the numbers, and they had a tough year. I mean, he had some personal stuff going on, had a couple family members pass away, had some injuries, took a couple leaves, and also Stanford didn't play any home games last year. They, due to COVID protocols out there in California, they had to play all their games on the road. So it was a tough year, and I guess you could attribute some of that to that. But with him, it's pure upside. I mean, the production, you haven't seen the tangible evidence that of what people think he could be. Like a lot of these guys, I mean, anytime you take a rookie, it's going to be, you draft a guy, it's going to be risk there. But with Zaire Williams, there really isn't any tangible proof that he's going to turn into this guy that you think he could be outside of what you saw from him in high school. Because the shooting numbers and things that you saw at Stanford, it just wasn't good.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And even as we see some of the highlights here on the screen here, but again, highlights can make anybody look good with the YouTube clips. But one thing you do see, I mean, you see a shooting form that looks good. You see a guy that's a great athlete, right, and can create his own shot. And I think, especially as Grizzly fans, you whenever you hear the word "create your own shot," your eyes kind of light up a little bit, as well as athleticism and shooting. It's like, man, we've been waiting. We're waiting for Chris Wallace to draft a guy like that for years. So, but again, the stats are so alarming that it makes you wonder. Now, and to me, you almost get sick of the fact, and this is no knock on Williams again, but you almost get sick of the fact of Grizz taking these chances. You almost think about what Justice Winslow was, a risk that could have been a good reward, but it wasn't. Now, I know it's a different situation when you're talking about a trade or whatever, but still, you lose out on guys like Jay Crowder that were extremely productive because you're taking a risk on what might or may not happen. And that's what seems like is happening here with Zaire. But, I've almost talked myself into it too because of the reasons that you brought up. It was pretty insane for a first-year college student to go through those things. But I guess we'll see. Now, is he going to play in the Summer League? I didn't actually, watch the entire first Summer League game, but did he play, and is he going to be featured a lot in that?
Well, due to these weird NBA rules, he's not officially a member of the Memphis Grizzlies until August 6th. Technically, he's a New Orleans Pelican. So the Grizzlies are playing. Yeah, the Grizzlies are playing in the Utah Summer League right now, but they're also playing in Vegas next week. He can't play in the 3 games that they're playing in Utah, but he will join the team in Vegas, and hopefully they feature him out there, which I expect him to do so. Because I mean, they got lot riding on him. But I mean, if you look at him, you can see the things that they like. I mean, he's 6'9" 3/4, so basically 6'10". You talk about a 6'10" wing. You see the shooting upside. The free throw percentage is good. So that's kind of one of the indicators you kind of look at to think that there's some shooting upside there. And I mean, he can handle the basketball. The athletic can get to the rack. It's just I think he needs to put on weight and get stronger. Definitely going into the NBA. But again, I mean, looking at him at Stanford, you just don't see that production. But you're hoping that the stuff that we talked about earlier that had an effect on him. And I think it's going to be a couple years before he really start to see the fruits of what you get with him. But again, they took a big risk, and you talked about it with Justice Winslow. This front office has shown that they don't mind taking a big swing, and I think they took the biggest swing here because I mean he will always be looked back against careers against guys like Bouknight, Moody. There were a lot of guys that they passed on to take him. Now, but if you listen to what reports and stuff out there, this was their guy all the time.
Yeah,
and you spoke about this earlier. I've talked to draft analysts. I've been doing a lot of draft coverage this year, and nobody seemed to know what they were talking about this year. I mean, nobody had that first top the lottery playing out the way it did. I mean, it was crazy, man. Some of the stuff that happened in the lottery. I mean, you go back Franz Wagner at 8. You got Sacramento taking Devion Mitchell. Toronto started early taking Scotty Barnes. Everybody thought they were going to go Jalen Suggs. I mean, just some crazy, crazy stuff going on. And the Grizzlies were a big part of that, jumping up and taking Zaire Williams at 10. I commend them for jumping up and taking their guy. I mean, Kleiman says that this wasn't just a last year thing with Stanford, that they've been on him ever since he was in high school. So they jumped up and got their guy, man. Hopefully it plays out. But I mean, they took a big swing, and again, they've done a lot of good work so far. I mean, this front office, outside of the Justice Winslow thing and a couple other things, Marco Guderic is kind of a mistake, but that was a low cost. I mean, that really didn't matter. But outside of that, man, they've done a fantastic job, especially when it comes to scouting and drafting players. So, man, hopefully they know what they're talking about, man. They saw something in Zaire that they love, man, and they made a big trade and jumped up and got their guy. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's definitely true, man. And one thing, again, with this front office, I think they've kind of earned, the benefit of the doubt
for sure
in some of these things. This is definitely not your mother or father's Grizzlies front office.
Not at all. Not at all.
I'm willing to wait and see on some things, but again, like you said, you got to respect taking chances because in the past they weren't even willing to do that. So this is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, especially when you got guys like Moody and Bouknight. Personally, I was favorable to Moody, especially with the local times and all that, and seemed like more of a sure thing. And then I hate to see him go to the Warriors of all things. I mean, that's just
man.
I mean, good grief, but. It's going to be interesting, man. But now talk about this other guy the Grizzlies picked as well because they moved up to get him. What do you know about him?
Yeah, man, Santi Aldama, big man out of Loyola, Maryland. Weird situation. I'm actually on our Hoop Ball Grizz podcast. We're actually going to have Ivo Sabovic, who is the assistant coach at Loyola. He was actually the lead recruiter on him, and he's really close. We're going to talk with him tomorrow to try to find out more about this situation. But honestly, I mean, and I'm a big college basketball guy. I had never heard of this kid until about a week before the draft. He started popping up on board because, I mean, the Patriot League, they're not on TV a lot. You're not going to hear, especially down here in the South, you're not going to hear much about them. But 6'11", 225 pounds. I watched some tape on him, man. He can shoot it. I think 38% from three. A guy not super athletic, but he's you think of kind of Kyle Anderson, a guy that's smart and crafty and know how to use his body to get out and transition and get on the break. I mean, he can move. He can handle the basketball a little bit. I mean, he's definitely a modern day big that fits that mold of what you want in the center in the NBA this year, especially being able to step out and shoot it. But the weird thing about him is there was all kind of reports. There was reports that said that he actually didn't want to be drafted, that he told teams that he wasn't going to work out for him, wasn't going to do his Zoom interviews. Now, there's some thought about this that maybe Oklahoma City shut him down. They promised him that they were going to take him and told him don't do any interviews because we're going to take you in the 30s in the second round. And the Grizzlies, I think, thought that's what was going to happen because Oklahoma City had 2 picks there, I think 34 and 36 in that range. So they felt like they had to jump up and get him. So they traded their 40th pick and 2 future second rounds to jump up to 30. So he ended up taking him as a first round pick. So it's a guaranteed contract. So they must have saw something that they really liked. I know Grizzlies assistant Darko Radakovic, who was actually coaching them in summer league right now, was big on this guy. So I think he had an influence there. So it's interesting, especially when you have a guy that you had last year, Killian Tilly, kind of similar, big man that can step out and shoot. It's going to be interesting to see if they hang on to both of those guys, which I think it's going to be one or the other. If Aldama comes over this year, I don't see any way they can keep both of those guys on guaranteed contracts. So I think Aldama is probably going to be that guy if he comes over this year, which I kind of hate because I like Tilly. I like some of the potential of him and the way he can step out and shoot it. But I think having two guys like that, I think, especially with a roster crunch that they already have, I think it's unlikely. So if Aldama comes over, I think he's going to be the guy, especially since they moved up to get him, made a trade, and end up taking him at the bottom of the first round, just like they did with Bain last year. End up trading up to 30 last year and getting Bain. So they move up and get their guys, and they seem to have a conviction. I feel like they must have seen something that they really like in order to jump up and take him like that.
You know, and I was just thinking that with Tilly, right, when you brought that up, because I actually loved the Tilly pick last year. You know, he was a guy that, you know, some people felt, you know, first round talent, but, you know, just some other things. Injuries and all that. And even the little bit that we saw, you know, I'm like, hey, you know, I think if this guy develops, you know, he could be a good modern big, you know, that could shoot and do all those things. But they're going to get another one. One thing about it, man, the Grizz don't have a problem with stacking talent and young talent.
No.
And it just seems like either they're going to, you know, give Taylor Jenkins headaches trying to figure out these rotations with all this talent, or just have all this these assets that you could trade for stuff later on, you know, once they show their worth. So it'll be
a couple guys. I was going to say a couple guys that I do like that they picked up, and I'm sure you're familiar with E. Pond from UT. Had a really good game last night, 12 points. And the question with him is his shooting, and he was 2 of 2 from 3 last night. So you definitely like to see that. And Romeo Weems is a kid out of DePaul that I think had 17 points last night. Those are two guys that I think you could see on two-way contract going to the season. McDermott is the only guy on a two-way contract right now. So they have one open, and I think McDermott might not be long for this roster. I just don't see the development in him. I just think there are other guys that they get in. And E. Pons and Romeo Weems are definitely two guys that I think we could see on two-way down in South Haven with the hustle. Because I think Pons should have got drafted. I mean, this kid's second highest vertical at the combine at 46 and a half inches. I mean, super athletic, plays hard. You always know you're always going to get 110% from him. I think the offensive question is the reason why he wasn't projected higher. But I think the work ethic and the way he plays, I think he's willing to work on that. And again, so far so good, man. 2 of 2 from 3 last night. Definitely like to see that from him.
Yeah, I was shocked to see that, man. I mean, that was one thing I was, you know, had no expectations on was him shooting the ball. And to see that is just an added plus, because I already love those, you know, at least I do. I love those energy guys, athletic, play hard all the time. They're always going to create havoc no matter what the skill is. You know what I mean? And,
I mean, it shows you, it shows you with Pons 6'6", and he's playing power forward and center. At UT. So, you know, man, if you 6'6" guarding centers out there, you working hard. I was kind of surprised because I always thought he was taller than that. I thought he was only 6'6", I was like, man, I thought he was like 6'8", 6'9". But man, he's a hard worker, man. I definitely think he ends up on a two-way, and we'll see him with the Grizz in the hustle this year. I don't have any doubt about it.
No doubt about it, man. We're talking with Isaac Simpson. Covers the Memphis Grizzlies for hoopball.com and the Tigers for Tiger Sports Report, Rivals affiliate in Memphis. Man, you know, and one thing, and shout out to Jet Lucas in the comments, is one thing I want to bring up to you too. Brings up about Jaren Jackson. I'll just read his comment. He says he thinks this entire offseason is riding on Jaren Jackson getting it together. And how big, you know, and there's been a lot of talk about Jaren too here and there. I really think, you know, I agree with Jet, man. This is a big offseason for him, being healthy, going into this season, and really becoming that guy, especially with the trade of Valanciunas. I mean, you know, he's going to have to be, I think, more of an inside force. And just to bring up one quick thing before you go, before I let you talk, is I think people forget about his rookie season. I even brought this up during the season, man. How good he was in the post, footwork, the hook shot. I mean, different things. That was what surprised me the most about Jaren in his rookie season. He spent a lot of time in the post and showing off what he can do. And after that, when you look at him after that, you almost forget that he does play in the post. So do you think that's going to be a renewed focus for him?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big offseason for him, no doubt. Outside of Ja, this whole plan that they have, he's the second major cog in that. And that things he can't get back healthy or get back to the guy he was, I think that really changes the trajectory of this team going forward. And like you said, his rookie season, I mean, he was fantastic in the post. And since then, the second year after coming back from injury, and I kind of kept calling for this in the playoffs. I mean, he just basically had turned into a perimeter guy.
Yeah, I know.
And that's not what you want to see. I mean, we love the three-point shooting, of course. I mean, but you want to see, especially with Jonas not being there, because Steven Adams is better defensively than Jonas, but you're going to lose a lot offensively inside with not having Jonas there. So somebody's got to pick up that slack, and they're going to need Jared to be that guy. I mean, I think this is a huge offseason for him. I do think that they go ahead and give him an extension, and I agree with that because I think, him and Ja are close friends, and Ja's going to be watching this negotiation closely. Mm-hmm. You don't want this to go to next summer and it gets messy, and if he has a big year, you're going to have to pay more money for him. And if it gets messy, Ja, especially being a small market team, you just don't want to alienate guys. I mean, you want to go ahead and lock up your guys that look like they want to be here.
Yep.
And both of those guys seem like they want to be here. So, I mean, I think Jared, I'm sure, is looking around, seeing all these bags being dropped. I'm sure he's looking to get his. And if you listen to Climate, I think they're going to get this done this summer. It's a risk, though, because, I mean, you just don't know coming back. Because what you saw at the end of last season, that's not what you want from Jared. I think more what you saw his rookie year and earlier in the second year, I think that's kind of what you want to see from him. And so they're taking a risk, but I think they're going to give him his extension and see what happens. But, again, they have a lot riding on him this summer. I mean, he's talked about, even at the end of the year in the post-game wrap-up or postseason wrap-up press conference, that he's ready to get in the gym.
Yes.
That, I mean, he knows what he has to work on, and that this is going to be a big summer for him. So I think he understands the magnitude and how much they have riding on him. So we'll see how it works out. But, I mean, I think he's going to have a big year because I just believe in his two-way ability. I believe he can play outside, and we've seen that, and we saw how good he is in the post. And I think they're clearing out space. I think this Jonas move, secondary, outside of them wanting to get Zaire, I think had a lot to do with them clearing a path for Jared to take a next step. And I think that's something that we're going to see this season.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's a great point. And yeah, I'm glad you brought up the press conferences. That's always is at the front of my mind when I think about Jared. And I know some people may wonder about his commitment sometimes, because of his personality or whatever. But when you saw after the I believe it was either right after that last loss to Utah or whatever.
Yeah.
His emotions about getting better was so raw and real. I'm like, man, if you had any question about his commitment to basketball, that should say something right there. And I know some people were trying to speculate about trades, and I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. He's too young and too much potential to give up now and have a star or a superstar somewhere else, and you mess it up. So I don't think the Grizzlies were even considering that, but I know how Grizz fans can get, especially on Facebook, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, man, it's how quickly people forget, man, how good this guy was. They didn't call him a unicorn for nothing. And then it's always like with fans, like you say, is what have you done for me lately? They know that he was injured and he come back and he struggled in the playoffs, and that's what they're thinking. But man, it's too quick to give up on his kid. I mean, he's super young, and again, we saw some special things from him, and I don't think that injury is something that's gonna, because he was moving around fine. I think it was just rust and not being away from the game so long. Yeah. I don't think there's anything physically stopping him from being that guy that he was prior to then. I just think there was a lot of rust, and you throwing a guy in the late in the season and in a playoff race and in the middle of the playoffs, that's kind of tough to integrate, especially a guy that's a high usage guy, going to be one of your main players to kind of integrate them back in when they've been out so long. So, man, they can't give up on this kid again, right alongside Ja. He's that second piece that in this vision that they have long-term for this team to build them into a contender. So, man, go ahead and lock him up, man. I think Jared's going to be fine. Like you said, the work ethic is there, and I think he's going to be ready to go when the season starts.
Definitely, man. And last thing on the Grizz, do you anticipate any moves, because I think people were expecting a little bit more movement than we ended up seeing.
Yeah, I know I was.
Me too. And right now, the free agency is, these guys are drying up, as far as who's out there. And it wasn't like it was super rich to begin with. And, I mean, do you expect any moves, any trades, or does it almost look like the Grizz want to stand pat for right now?
Well, I think that the interesting thing and the biggest chip right now for the Grizzlies, I think, is the situation with Eric Bledsoe. They get him in the deal. I think Steven Adams will be here. The big contract he has, a couple years left on his deal, and they have a need there with Jonas gone. So I think we'll see Steven Adams in a Grizzlies uniform now. For Bledsoe, I don't think that's the case. Now this could go a lot of different ways. Bledsoe has, I think, his contract $18 million this year, but it's only guaranteed $3.9 million for that second year in 22-23. So the thing about it is, and I think this trade won't be officially announced until Friday. I think there's a possibility that it could turn into a 3-team trade, and you have Bledsoe going somewhere else. We'll see, but I think the Grizzlies are going to try to move Bledsoe. The thing about it is, I mean, a lot of these teams in free agency have kind of handled their point guard situation, and I mean, he's on a big contract. I'm hoping they don't just buy him out. I hate when teams make trades and bring in these guys and just end up buying them out. You want to get something for the asset, but he's not going to be an easy guy to trade. I think if you see a trade, I think it's going to be one of those type of trades where you see the Grizzlies taking back a big salary that a team doesn't want. Sometimes you can win out because, I mean, there's been some talk of maybe Sacramento gets involved and maybe a Buddy Hield ends up here in Memphis, which I would love to see that.
Best case scenario.
I mean, that would be that would be fantastic if that happened. But I think Bledsoe was kind of the domino that falls. Once we find out what happens with Bledsoe, I think we might see some more moves from the Grizzlies because I think there has to be some consolidation somewhere. I mean, I think they have too many guys on the wing, especially if you're going to after bringing in Zaire Williams. You got to get rid of some of those guys. And we've heard Tyus' name out there, which is interesting to me because if you're going to move Bledsoe and Tyus, what is your plan at backup point guard?
Exactly.
I think it's a question there. So I do think we're going to see some moves from the Grizzlies, but I think they're kind of waiting to see how this Bledsoe thing plays out before they do anything else. Yeah,
man, that's kind of my concern too. I'm like, man, of all people, Tyus, you throw his name out there? You know, a guy that was one of the best backup point guards in the league. So I don't know.
Oh, no doubt about that.
So we'll see, but it's going to be very interesting to say the least, man. Isaac Simpson, hoopball.com, also the Memphis Tigers as well. And that's the last thing on the back end here in these last few minutes I want to talk to you about. Now, I know, Penny talked to the media and everything and talked about several things. I kind of brought up before you came on about Jalen Duren this Friday, Rasheed Wallace, just having the most insane coaching staff in a good way that you could ever think about. What do you think about those developments and what may end up happening?
Man, as far as the coaching staff, man, you got to say, man, Penny doesn't mind thinking outside the box. I mean,
man,
you got to bring in Larry Brown, man, 80 years old, and then the stuff comes out about Rasheed Wallace. I mean, what an impressive staff. I mean, you got Penny Hardaway, you got Cody Toppert, who's worked in the G League and gets a lot of credit for helping develop Devin Booker. Larry Brown, who I call him a walking human basketball encyclopedia. I mean, if there's any guy in the world that knows basketball, it's Larry Brown. I mean, he's been all over. I mean, coached in the NBA, even played in the NBA, man, and overseas. I mean, he goes overseas. He's coached college. He's won a national championship and an NBA championship. The only guy that ever done that. I mean, he's just a tremendous resource for Penny to look down on that bench and kind of pick his brain. And now you talk about bringing in a former NBA All-Star and Rasheed Wallace, and we know kind of the credit he has. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you got those four guys walking in to a home, man. How you going to turn that down?
Man,
I mean, that's a tremendous staff and so much knowledge. And one thing that, and you mentioned this before I jumped on, I heard you talking about it, is that the NBA, the NBA that these guys have had experience. I mean, that no other staff in the country can tout the NBA experience. These guys are real. They've been there, done that, and then they know how to get you there, and they can really sell that to kids. I mean, other schools say that, but these guys have actually done it. So, I mean, to have Rasheed Wallace, which I do think that's going to happen. Rasheed Wallace was the coach over at the Iverson Classic.
Yeah, that's right.
When he was in the city, that's kind of where it started at.
Interesting.
Sorry, that's where it kind of started at. Penny said he reached out to him then, and now it looks like this is really going to happen. That they're actually going to add Rasheed Wallace to the staff. Looks like Tremaine Johnson is going to move on, and that Rasheed Wallace is going to take that spot. So that's tremendous. And another thing about that is Rasheed Wallace from the Philadelphia area. Jalen Duren is from the Philadelphia area, actually from Wilmington, Delaware. I think it's about 40 minutes away. So they're familiar with each other. They think they have kind of relationships. So I think that kind of helps. I think Larry Brown helps as well. So, man, I mean, you can't say anything else, man. If you had Mike Miller on the staff and you go out and get a Rasheed Wallace, I mean, I think that's special. And I don't think there's any other college in the country that can rival what they're going to have on this staff.
No question. I don't know if I've ever seen a staff with this much NBA experience from different levels of playing and coaching and just versatility in all directions. I mean, this could be quite insane. And when it comes to guys like Jalen Duren, with that whole potential, and we all know that's going down this Friday, it's going to be a whole lot of anticipation. You know, I even feel it just sitting here right now, thinking about what could happen with that, and you know, the potential of the reclassification. How important do you feel that is? Because this team's already pretty good already, but just looking at a Duren, I mean, how do you feel that takes things?
Yeah, man, quick to go back to a second ago. Somebody was trying to call me, so I kind of lost my train of thought there. I don't know who that was. But as far as Jalen Duren, man, this has been an interesting recruitment, man. I don't think anybody outside of Duren himself and his closest inner circle knows what he's going to do. I mean, I feature casted him to Memphis. Memphis feels really good about where they are with him. They've been at all the games at the Peach Jam, but Penny wasn't there. Larry Brown and Rodney Hamilton were there. They really put in the effort on this kid, and he came in and said he was blown away by their NIL presentation. And I've heard that Kentucky's out. There's some Kentucky people that agree, think they have no chance. There's some still think they have a bunch of chance. They're in there. I don't think Kentucky's in the game with this one. I think it's Memphis, Miami, or pro. Miami hired his former AAU coach on staff. Larry Niger did down there, so that kind of puts them in the game. If it wasn't for that, I would say 100% Memphis or pro. But the thing about it is, man, that pro money is still sitting out there. I mean, I know the NIL here, and I'm sure Penny has talked with him about building a brand. And he said he loves it, but it's still guaranteed money out there with the G League at night. So that's always going to be, I'm sure, in the back of a kid's mind. So I think if I was Memphis, I would feel the best out of all the options, but I don't think this thing is anywhere near done. But we're going to find out Friday, 5 p.m. I mean, he's having a ceremony. I think it lasted an hour and a half, man. These kids are legit with these commitment ceremonies and stuff like that. But I'm sure all the eyes of Memphis is going to be on Jalen Duren on Friday, and I think he would be a big piece to add to this team. I think it kind of changes the trajectory. An old school big man can really defend the rim, really score inside, can even step out a little bit and shoot from the mid range, even from the perimeter. I think that's a ever evolving part of his game. So I think that changes some things. That's the big thing. And I think Earl Timberlake rehabbing his shoulder injury. Yeah. I think those are two big keys for this team. If they have a healthy Earl Timberlake and Jalen Duren on this team, I think this is a surefire NCAA tournament team and a team that can make some noise in March.
No doubt. I think people may not have a big idea about Earl Timberlake. Now, he was projected a lottery pick last year?
Yeah, they still have him even in box now. They got him going in the first round. So, I mean, he's a tremendous talent.
That's just crazy to think about. On top of everything else, you know, with the Lawson brothers and then Tyler Harris. I was even talking earlier. I'm like, man, you almost forget that Tyler came back after all this other stuff that's happened since then. So it's going to be real interesting to see how that develops over time. Now, last thing I must ask, man, what else? There's been so much going on with NBA free agency and the moves that have been made. You got Chicago kind of all of a sudden coming into the mix and looking like
man,
something.
They coming, man.
You know, and the Lakers, you know, adding a bunch of senior citizens and stuff. So what do you think about what's kind of caught your eye with some of these moves around the league?
Yeah, the situation with the Lakers are interesting, man. It must be nice to be able to just sign all these guys 1 year deal for the 5 year minimum, man. I wish the Grizzlies could be bringing in guys like that. I mean, they trying to sign the whole league. I saw somebody posted, you talking about senior citizens, I saw somebody posted a joke saying LeBron said if you've never rented a video at Blockbuster, you can't play on this team. But I mean, yeah, they're definitely gonna be older. I think the situation with Westbrook and LeBron is gonna be interesting because they're both ball dominant. Yeah. I think that's gonna be interesting to see how that works out. But I mean, they've added some depth. I think if that team stays healthy, they're gonna be hard to deal with the guys that they brought in. I mean, you bring in Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn. I mean, they got a lot of Carmelo. I mean, they're gonna have a lot of firepower coming off their bench. I think the question with them is just the help. I mean, with LeBron and AD and just have a lot of older guys on the team. Can they make it to the playoffs healthy? I think that's going to be the big question with them. Chicago, like you said, man, go out and get Lonzo Ball. Did sign Alex Caruso, speaking of the Lakers, which that one was kind of weird. But then they make the trade to get DeMar DeRozan, which I think is kind of interesting fit. But, I mean, they've added talent to their team, so I think they're going to be kind of interesting to watch as well. So it's been a crazy free agent, man. I mean, it hit the ground running, man. Guys were signing. I think Chris Paul going back to Phoenix was a big domino, I think, expected. But with them, I'm kind of concerned about that big contract they've given Paul, which is going to take him probably to the end of his career. And he's going to be older. I mean, you even saw some signs in the playoffs that he might be losing a step a bit. I mean, it looked earlier, like you looked at that Denver series, he was just on another level, and then he kind of slowed down a little bit. I just think Phoenix might be in a position to where they're going to be cap strapped, and you see these other teams in the West getting better. I think the seas kind of parted for them this year, and kind of everything went right for them, and that's kind of why they end up in the position that they are. Now that they've committed this big money to Chris Paul, they're not going to have a lot of money to go out and do anything else, and I don't know if they're going to be a top tier contender anymore, like they were this year. I think things kind of worked out with injuries and some things happening for them this year. I kind of worry about the future with them and how they're going to get better, because I think they've dropped down a wrong with kind of what's going on in the West right now.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's so much other movement going on. And again, like you said, with Paul, you got to think Father Time's going to come in, and you already kind of saw it, I believe, just like you said, in the playoffs, even though he has
got Golden State coming back.
So. Yeah, exactly. And then their youth and that they're adding with to their experience that they already have. So I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. And I'm curious where the Grizz will end up landing in all this, because, the past couple of years they've been on the fringe of the playoffs, but, who knows, man. I don't even know if the front office is focused on playoffs as well as just trying to build a team right now. I don't know.
They're not. Like I said before, and I kind of, this past season, I didn't always agree with kind of their approach. I think,
me either.
And they've said that they 100% everything they do is through the prism of long term, and I think that the move that they made with the Pelicans, I think that proves that, and I think going out and get Zion Williams proves that, because I think they could take a step back. I mean, you lose Jonas and you bring in Steven Adams, which I think Steven Adams will help defensively, but you're definitely not going to get the scoring from him. So I don't think that I don't think this front office cares at all about. I think they can win 15 games, and I think they'd be fine. I think they can win the NBA championship, and of course, they'd be fine then. But I don't think that's not their focus at all on this year or next couple of years. Everything they do is focused on the long term. So, I mean, I think they'll still be good enough to get into the play-in situation. Mm-hmm. But again, I could definitely see them taking a step back, because I think we're going to find out how big Jonas was for the team when, I mean, he bailed them out at times, the rebounding, the putbacks on some of the shots. I mean, he did a lot of things for the team, covered up a lot of deficiencies, I think, at times offensively. And I think that you're going to see that in a big way when the season starts.
Yeah, because a lot of those offensive sets, or if you want to call them that devolved into, hey, just dump it to Jonas.
Yeah, just dump it to Jonas, yeah.
And just let him be a Grizzly bear.
Jonas.
Yeah, and do what he does. If John can't dunk on the whole team, just dump it to Jonas and let him do it.
I mean, some of those times, man, he'd be right there on a lot of those job misses, layups. He'd be right there, put him back in. I mean, they had great chemistry on that end, so he's definitely going to be missed, man.
No doubt, and it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out, man. But that's my man, Isaac Simpson. Man, tell the folks, I know you got the Hoop Ball podcast. Tell them about that. And a new podcast I saw that followed me on Twitter. I'm like, oh, man, what's going on?
Yeah,
so tell us about it.
Yeah, man. I had a new podcast. That's going to be called Proud City podcast, the podcast covering Memphis athletics. It was formerly TSR Live and just switched it up, rebranded it a little bit. So it's going to be called Proud City. Be on the lookout for that as we get ready to embark on a Tiger football season coming up quickly, man. It's a few weeks away, man, for the opener against Nickel State. So be on the lookout for that. Also, man, at Hoop Ball Grizz, me and my guy David Williams covering the Grizzlies, man. We got some great stuff going on over there with that podcast. And you can follow me on Twitter, my regular account at Isaac_Rivals. And man, that's where you can find me, man. Very active on Twitter, so check me out.
Definitely, man. I was tweeting right before the show, all kinds of news. I was trying to take notes, you know what I mean, for the show started. But nah, man, I definitely appreciate you, Isaac, as always, brother. And definitely going to do this again soon. The NFL season starting up, maybe even talk some football and You know how the Cowboys finished third in the NFC.
No, Cowboys coming, man.
Yeah.
You know they coming.
Yeah.
Got Dak back, man. CD Lamb looking good out there.
Yeah.
You already know, man.
Yeah. Well, I've been too busy watching Julio highlights. You know what I'm saying, from training camp. So I'm too hyped right now. I'm too hyped. Can't lie, man. But man, Isaac, as always, thanks for coming on, brother.
Will do, man. I appreciate it. I always enjoy being on Talk Live Sports, man. Anytime.
Yes, sir. All right, that's my man Isaac Simpson. Talking all sorts of things, man. Doing it big. So shout out to him for coming on today. Look at some of the comments that came in real quick. Of course, GKP coming in with how about him. This ain't a Cowboy segment, sir, but I will give you the freedom of expression to say that on today. And let's see, there was a little Larry Brown hate earlier from GKP as well, but he is down with Rasheed Wallace, so shout out to that as well, man. So much stuff going on. You know, Isaac talked about the Lakers. I have my thoughts on that. I think they're old, but I think they're good at the same time. And just real quick, the addition of some of these last few guys, Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk, guys like that I think can balance out some of the age that they have on this team. Even Taylor Horton Tucker, THT. I think that was pretty good, you know, to bring up, you know, as well as another guy that's 20 years old for the Lakers that has a lot of promise, they believe. So that can balance out some of this old age. I'm seeing people hype up Trevor Ariza, you know, going to the Lakers. Man, Trevor Ariza. When is the last time anybody cared about Trevor Ariza? This is 2009 when he was playing with Kobe and winning a title with Pau Gasol and those guys. This is a whole nother group of guys. As you see there, that's the big four for the new Lakers: Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron, and Anthony Davis. I don't think that's a great fit, personally. But I guess we'll see. We'll see how that continues to develop. Got Bob in the building saying, tighten up. Jay Jones, tighten up. Julio, that's it. That's the most important thing right there out of everything that's going on. And let me tell y'all this. I don't even have a picture for this one. I don't even need it. I can express this myself. One thing I'm sick of is all this love for the Indianapolis Colts. And I know Kelly, I know you're a Colts fan, I believe. But man, I am sick of the love that they keep getting. And look, I'm not cheering for nobody to get hurt. But Carson Wentz, the quarterback that everybody's praising and giving opportunity after opportunity after he continued to stink it up for Philadelphia for years, after that first year of looking like an MVP candidate, he gets hurt, tries to come back. Philadelphia almost ruins their franchise to try to work him and his emotions into the situation. It didn't work. They dumped him, and Indianapolis picks him up, and everybody says they're going to win the AFC East. That makes no sense based off the track record of what the Titans have done going forward, based off the fact that the Titans won the division last year, based off the fact that we got better, that we added a superstar, one of the greatest receivers of all time in Julio Jones. Talking about, you know, Derrick Henry, one of the greatest running backs of all time. Number one leading rusher in the league over the past 2 to 3 seasons. A.J. Brown, one of the best young receivers in the NFL right now. Ryan Tannehill, top 5 quarterback statistically ever since he became a starter in Tennessee. Everybody talks about Patrick Mahomes, which of course deservedly so, winning a Super Bowl, being outstanding in Kansas City. But when you look at the numbers, who's right there on his heels and in a lot of aspects has better numbers? Ryan Tannehill. Look it up. I'm going to post that chart on Facebook a little later so y'all can put some respect on Tannehill's name. I was a little bit worried because he didn't want to take the vaccine, but he did. He took the vaccine. He said he did it for his team. He didn't want to do it, but he did it for his team. I have all sorts of thoughts on that, but it don't even matter. He's got the vaccine now. Most of the team is vaccinated. We ain't got nothing to worry about. We just need to stay healthy. Keep it moving. I see you, Kelly. He said, come on, homie Josh, not hating on my Colts. That stung a little bit, LOL. Hey, man, look, I know you're already stung enough with Carson Wentz, the quarterback I was just talking about. He has a broken bone in his foot. He just got there. He done already hurt his foot. And I don't know what he did to Quentin Nelson, your superstar offensive lineman, one of the best guards in the NFL, and then he gets hurt with the same injury Carson Wentz had. What is the chances of that happening? I mean, that was kind of unbelievable there. I don't wish that on nobody. Don't get me wrong, injuries and nothing like that. I never go that far when it comes to my fandom, but it is a bit unfortunate. But people are still trying to say, well, this might give a room for the Titans to win the division. We didn't need those injuries. Y'all could be perfectly healthy, and we would still be the better team and still should be the favorite in the AFC East nonetheless, especially if you're talking about guys like Dan Orlovsky on ESPN, who acts like he's Carson Wentz's father. But nonetheless, I just had to get that out there. I'm looking forward to the season. Matter of fact, I think the first preseason game is this week. The Cowboys and the Steelers. Now, let me double check that. I'm going to check that right now so I can give you some accurate information before we get out of here. Let's see. NFL preseason. I do know the first preseason game is Steelers-Cowboys. And that game is scheduled for, of course, it's going to be at the Hall of Fame Stadium. It's the Hall of Fame game that they do yearly. This is the first year after a year's hiatus of the preseason. There was no preseason last year, if y'all remember. So it's back. It's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. I appreciate them telling me it's 8 p.m. Eastern, but they don't give me the dates of the game. Come on now. Okay, it looks like it's going to be August the 12th, Thursday night. So that's next, I believe that's next week. Today's the 4th, yeah. Next Thursday, August the 12th, preseason football is back. So shout out to that. Kelly says, absolutely true, Josh. Actually, Titans are probably top 3 or 4 in the AFC. I agree, man. That's why I appreciate Kelly, man. Realistic fan. Not like some of those Cowboy fans out there that will remain nameless, which are probably most of the people in the comment section, like Jed and GKP and some of y'all other people out there. But yeah, Kelly, I thought it was this Thursday, but what I'm seeing here, that the first preseason game is going to be August the 12th, which is next. Let me know. Okay, I'm going to check one more time. Hold on now. Because this is very important. No, you're right. It's tomorrow. It is tomorrow. According to NFL.com, Steelers Cowboys tomorrow. We got NFL football tomorrow, people. Sound the alarms. Sound everything. The Steelers and the Cowboys play tomorrow on Fox. 8 p.m. Eastern. The Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. What a way to kick it off, right? Steelers, Cowboys. Two very storied franchises, especially the Steelers. So, man, looking forward to that, man. Some football on TV. Of course, ain't nobody going to be playing. It's going to be a bunch of guys that nobody knows. GKP said, nobody cares about that game. You're going to be watching. GKP, don't act like you're not going to watch. You're probably right, nobody cares, but it's NFL football. Most of us are going to watch probably the first quarter. And then we're going to stop watching because we don't know nobody that's on the field after that. But we're going to watch that first quarter. You're going to be sitting there with that huge mug, that huge Cowboys mug. I don't know what you have in there. I know it's a lot of ice because I'll be hearing it jingling. You know what I mean? And jangling. And I don't know if something brown be in there. I'm not going to judge. Because y'all Cowboys fans, I know y'all resort to different things. But nonetheless, I know you're going to be sitting there on your couch with that big Cowboys mug watching that first quarter at least. I'll probably do it too. You never know. But I'm more so going to be waiting on that Titans preseason game, August the 13th in Atlanta is when the Titans debut. So much for that, and shout out to that. So anyway, man, I'm gonna get on out of here. GKP said, I'll be at rehearsal, buddy. Okay. Rehearsal for the season, the preseason, or choir rehearsal? I'd be shocked if it's choir rehearsal, but I think you said you're in the choir. I don't know. But Bob says go Steelers, and that's all that matters right there at the end of the day. Go Steelers, indeed. At least for that game. I'm a Titans fan, but I will root for the Steelers when it comes to the Cowboys and stuff like that. So that's going to do it for me, man. I'm going to get on up out of here on today, but we'll be back soon for Talk Back Live with Bob and Josh here on Talk Back Live Network. So y'all stay tuned for that. And, that's going to be fun. We're going to have something interesting, as always, for y'all to join us and talk about. So I am Joshua Midgett, man. Be sure, and if you haven't already, like this video, hit the like button, love button, whatever you want to do. Also, share this video, even though it won't be live. After I go off, people can still check out the replay of the show online. Follow us on Twitter at TalkBackLive. One word, at TalkBackLive. Facebook.com, TalkBackLive with Bob and Josh. Like our Facebook page, check us out there. And YouTube.com, TalkBackLive Network. So that's going to do it for us. And I will talk to you all next time.